Welcome back to Celebrity Radio. It's Alex Belfield talking to some of the country's biggest stars, some of the world's most talented people, and we've got one for you today. Laura Michelle Kelly is an old friend who we saw in Mary Poppins in the West End years ago. Since then, we saw her on Broadway and in Finding Neverland. She's done almost every show, been touring the world her entire life, and she comes to London's Cadogan Hall, 6:30. You can see her on Sunday, 24th of February, and she's going to be doing her one-woman show there, and I'm delighted to say she joins us on the phone now. How are you doing, Laura?
Hi, it's good to be here.
You are such a star. I remember seeing you in that Prince Edward Theatre all those years ago as Mary, and there are some people who are born to be there, and you're one of them. Congratulations.
Thanks. I often look back and I think, wow, did I ever even have a clue about what that show would do for the rest of my life? I really didn't. I thought, oh, I can do this, and this is fun. I was very cocky. and I look back now and I think, wow, who was that person? Yeah. I had no idea what was coming, and I'm very grateful that Disney and Cameron gave me a shot with that. It really is something that's changed my life.
I thought it was one of the most beautifully staged shows ever. It was very long, but I did feel sorry for you because of all those stairs. I mean, you were up and down them like a whippet.
I tell you, the show used to be 4 hours long when we did it in Bristol, and they cut a lot of up and down the stairs, and I was very grateful when we finally got to the West End. That was a real challenge, you know. We went through all the different stages down there in Bristol and finally found the show that we wanted. And then, you know, we bring it to the masses for people to judge, and we were so glad that they were open to it because we worked so hard. But I tell you, the testament really is Cameron, Matthew Bourne, Stephen Mear, Richard Eyre. They were just such an incredible team. Bob Crowley for costumes and set design. And it was the team that was put together. And it's quite rare to get a team like that. And that's down to Disney and Cameron being so happy. And it's such a marriage that I haven't seen anywhere else.
And of course, then at the end, you get to fly out. There can't be anything more magical in musical theatre or any theatre than that sort of ovation at the end where Mary flies out. It's just beautiful, isn't it?
It was quite frightening. I remember for doing it for the very first time, they were very, coached me. I was very delicate, and in Bristol, we tried different versions. They almost worked me up to the higher point because we went from one place to the top of the balcony. And then they were like, that's not working. And they went from the stage all the way to the top of the ceiling and out. And I remember just praying I wouldn't die. This is how I'm going to die. And just trying to look like I knew I was okay and safe. I felt safe because of the people I was working with. You just have to put your life in their hands.
Yeah. And there has to be a tranquility because, of course, Mary Poppins isn't scared of anything, is she?
No, I wouldn't poop my pants over the audience. Which I have to say, on occasion, if there was a little jump in the rope or something accidentally, or a rope would skip, they would do their very best to talk me through it afterwards. They say, I think you might have felt when a line crossed another line and we're working it out tomorrow. We're going to make sure it doesn't happen tomorrow. So they would always talk me through. But then when we got to West End, we hadn't even previewed. We were having our first preview on the Monday, and we hadn't even done the run of the fly out yet. It wasn't ready. It was almost like, oh, that's going to be fine. They didn't think about it till, well, I'm sure they were thinking about it. It just wasn't a priority until this moment. And I remember begging them, please give me a rehearsal before the first preview. And, there had been a whole interior decorating thing happening backstage as well as on stage. And of course, Mary Poppins is a massive thing. And I remember waiting in the dressing room, it was newly painted and it was in the basement, and I was waiting in there all day long, and I guess the fumes or whatever gave me a lump on my cords because I couldn't sing the very next day, and the very first preview had to be done by my beautiful understudy Poppy, and I was devastated. And of course everyone was like, first preview, she's not even on, and I felt the weight and the pressure of that. But it was just a typical thing, if you stick an actress in a room with fumes, or if you've got your stage as a construction site, because there's lots of construction dust in the air, there's going to be damages to people's health or whatever. And I remember being so devastated and embarrassed that I missed it, but also quite grateful because the fly out wasn't ready. It wasn't ready at all. And I remember when I did eventually come back and we did it, they were like pulling me with my hands, and the string on my hips were pulling me in the opposite direction. And it was actually more frightening than the flight itself, was the pull in, because they were trying to loose it. They hadn't got it yet. And eventually they built a bridge that would slide out. I would step on it, walk in, and then they would undo my harness. But see, the processes are what makes it all exciting. Right. And the memories of all of that is also... it's voluntary. It's frightening, but it's voluntary. You get the blessing of all that achievement, but you also have to go through the hell.
I've been so grateful over the years to speak to so many stars who I've handpicked to talk to, because I'm so in awe of their talent, and you're one of them. I wonder why you. Do you ever go there in your mind? Why did they pick you and not someone else? Because they could have picked anybody. Yeah,
they could. I always think every job I've got is a miracle, and I don't take it lightly. I often think I haven't deserved the opportunities that come my way, but when they do, I try to honour it, and don't get a big head. I really don't have one. I think the moments that I've gotten really big for my boots, the boots have tripped me over.
Right.
And I don't know. I just feel very lucky. And it's not luck, I know. It's knocking on doors and doors opening, and knocking on lots of doors that never open, and not letting it steal your joy or make you want to quit. I'm sure there's times when I've wanted to quit, actually. Right before I got Mary Poppins on Broadway, which I thought was never going to happen because, I don't know, I thought maybe I'd done something wrong or something, when I didn't get to do it there. I thought that would never happen, and I remember walking down the street and seeing Scarlett Stralland's face up on the board in Broadway, and I thought, wow, she got to do it. And because she took over from me in London, and I thought, oh, that's it, I'm never going to get to do it anymore. She's awesome. We're actually like sisters, Broadway sisters. And when I ended up doing it, it was a real surprise. It came out of nowhere, and I'm not even sure why, but I'm grateful because in my life at that time, I hadn't worked for about a year, and I was pretty poor by that point in Putney, newly divorced and heartbroken. And then Cameron, out of the blue, just offered it to me. And it changed my life again for the second time to get back on the... And I was like frightened. I actually asked him if I could do Australia because it was not out there yet. And I'd just been to Australia doing a workshop for a movie that I ended up doing, but it was just in workshop stages. And I saw, oh, they're bringing Mary Poppins here. And I thought, oh, how fun would that be? Can I do it? And he said, no, but you can do New York. And then I was like, I don't want to do New York. I'm too scared. Like, I did so well 5 years ago and people raved about it. I don't want to ruin the one good thing, That's what I was thinking. And then when he asked, I had to do it because I needed a job. And then I realised eventually, you just pulled me back on the horse, and I was really grateful.
You've had some amazing Broadway success. I mean, you started in Fiddler, then you went to Mary Poppins, and you did Finding Neverland, which we're going to talk about in a bit. There is an added pressure there. I don't know why. It feels different. I think there's a different ethic there. I've been criticised for saying it in the past, but I think that's true, isn't it? That
you mean work ethic?
Yeah, I think there is.
It's a different culture, that's for sure. They're just two different worlds, that's all. Their acting is just as good. The songs are just as good. The demand is greater, I think, because there's more theatres. The demand for good work is greater. There's more states where they have amazing regional theatres, just as good as the West End, in the heart of every state. And so if you think about how many states there are, and how many, at least if there's one major regional theatre in each of those, there's a lot of competition. And there's also a lot of room for those theatres to house brand new shows, a bit like we did in Bristol. It doesn't really, I think a lot of the funding at some point disappeared for England in the regional theatres. Everyone's having to fundraise in order to keep them open. And I think by doing that, they're preventing good work from happening, to be able to bring it into the West End, to be able to cultivate new talent, cultivate new writers. And that's why funding for the arts needs to happen even more than ever in England. But if you look at America, that's they've got that going for them, and I think that's probably why there's a lot more competition for and a high demand for good work.
The next time we speak, we're going to sit down and film something, because I'd love to do a life story piece with you. But just today, we're just very quickly, because we've been gossiping far too long, but we're going to talk. It's your fault, not mine. You're coming to London.
I can go a little longer if you can. I don't mind. I'll check out. I'm literally checking out of my hotel because, you know, we were talking before we started recording about how I'm a gypsy and we have to go from place to place to place and I'm literally in a hotel. I have to check out at 12. I'm just going to extend it
till they start banging on the door.
I'll wait till they bang on the door.
There you go. You're coming to London's Cadogan Hall, which is the 24th of February, for this show. It must be thrilling for you to not only go back as a headliner to London, but also to be doing great business. I mean, everybody's excited about this. This must be thrilling.
Oh, thank you. I am really excited, mostly because the guy that gave me my first ever break, Jay Alexander, is going to be my musical director. And he was the musical director that gave me my biggest break when I was 16. He gave me the role of understudy to Belle. Well, Disney did too, but he mostly stuck up for me. And he's directing me for this show. And I get to choose my songs. And I've been doing this one-woman show thing for a little while in America. And I have to say, I've got a lot to learn. I'm no Barbara Cook yet, but that's my hope. I love her. I just, you know, I've got a lot to learn. If you come see it, you'll see what I'm talking about. But I love that people are with me on this journey. I get to sing great songs. I get to share stories. And I have to say, the birth of social media and exposure in that way has taught me to be more vulnerable. And I think is probably what has taught me to be myself in front of an audience when I used to only play characters. And I didn't really have a lot of interactions with fans. Not really, because that just wasn't what was happening at the time in England in my 20s. So having to grow and be vulnerable with people, it's a revolution for me. And now I can actually sing and I'm really comfortable in my skin. So what I'm happy about is showing who I really am now and being able to sing for people the songs that have changed my life and the songs that, you know, I'm even singing songs of shows I didn't get, which is also exciting. Songs that haven't even come to the West End yet. There's 3 or 4 shows that have come to the West End that I auditioned for back in America. The music's incredible, and people haven't been exposed to it so much here yet. So I'm excited to sing some of those songs and get people excited about the shows that are coming into the West End. Probably not with me, but then I get to enjoy it, you know?
It's interesting. When I was at the height of my radio career, there was no social media, and the same with you and Mary. I wonder whether that was a blessing or a curse. It would be nice now because we'd have a following online that could probably help, but at the same time, some of the criticism that the actors get, you've got to have the hide of a rhinoceros to cope with it, haven't you?
I don't try to expose myself too much to what people say, if you in good or bad. I learnt with My Fair Lady. I had some good reviews for that when I did it with Anthony Andrews. Yeah. And it was the first time I'd ever really been reviewed. I'd done Mamma Mia and Les Mis and all these shows that I stepped in for before. But My Fair Lady, I was taking over from a big name, Martine McCudgeon. Yep. There'd been a lot of talk about it. So people reviewed me, and it was the first time I got good ones that I even recognised it. And I realised if you give power to the good reviews, you then give power to the bad ones too. You can't have either.
Right.
But what you can do is listen to your trusted actors or the trusted friends, or you can't listen to the critics because, you know, life's hard enough. I am my own worst critic anyway. So what I need is to find my trusted encouragers, but I also don't want being pandered to. I want to grow, and that's another reason why I keep putting myself in a situation where I'm doing things that scare me. Like Lord of the Rings. That was a crazy part to play. Galadriel. I have to get, you know, I get ugly at one point, and you have to be okay with people seeing you're ugly, and you have to be okay with people seeing you in, like with the second Mrs. Tanqueray, right? That was like a crazy thing to do in the middle of Kingston, playing a woman who ends up committing suicide at the end. I knew it was a part that was too big for me, and I put myself. I want to grow. So if reviews, it's because I'm trying. Right. So I got to give myself credit to say, well, Do I always want to do things that are too easy for me so that people always say nice things? No. That's my aim in life. But
keep pushing.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Sometimes the rejection can really sting. Mostly when you bomb in an audition, you know you could have done better, and they didn't see your best, because auditions are really awful, and I'm notoriously bad at them. That's why it's another miracle that I ever got anything, because auditions I'm just so bad at. But I think most people in the industry know if they hand me the material, I can actually do something with it really well, and that's how I got Finding Neverland. I got it from being given the workshop to begin with, and then you try with the stuff, and then luckily they kept me all the way through to the end when some people didn't stay with the show.
Congratulations, by the way, on ultimate happiness, married again, and is this the best time of your life as you approach 40?
I say approach 40. I've never considered that part of...
Oh, I did last week when I turned 39. Don't you worry about that.
I'm not there yet, so give me a break on that.
You're not far off, love, are you?
No, I am. It really is the happiest time of my life. I don't have a ladder to worry about, I have a beautiful husband who loves me, and I'm excited about the adventures we're going to have together. But also coming to Cadogan Hall is a big deal, because I get to share who I am now, and that really makes me very happy. I'm happy that I get to keep growing, keep saying yes to things that scare me. And
I'm so sorry you didn't take the opportunity to marry me. I did offer you on many occasions, and you turned me down.
You did?
Suit yourself. Hey, listen, congratulations on everything. The London Cadogan Hall will be home to the beautiful Laura. She will be there on the 24th of February, Sunday night, 6:30. You can see her there. Laura Michelle Kelly, thank you so much for your time.
It was such a pleasure talking to you and getting to know you too. So thank you for inviting me onto your show.
Lots of love.